Excellent. Everyone, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Débora is a high school teacher and also the co-founder of PyLadies in Brazil. And Débora is going to be talking about the international cooperation within the Python community, which I think is excellent. And so please, everyone, give Débora a warm welcome.
Thank you, everyone. I'm actually talking to you from the past because here where I am in Brazil is Friday night, but I'm really glad to be with you all. And just a little bit more about me. So hi, I'm Débora. I'm from Brazil. I'm one of the co-founders of PyLadies Brazil, which is the largest PyLadies chapter in the world. We are a network of over 30 active chapters here in Brazil. I'm also a high school teacher. I work in public schools here. I'm a bachelor in IT, just finished my bachelor in IT, and I've gone to my master's degree and I've been developing educational software, bilingual software for deaf children, so that's great. And I'm also part of the board of directors of the Python Software Foundation. And well, you can find me at PyDab on Twitter. I can't call it X, I just keep calling it Twitter. All right, but let's go on. So what do we have for today? We're going to go over what cooperation, international cooperation within the Python community, what does it mean? So we're going to discuss what contribution to the community is, because if we talk about international cooperation, we are talking about a service that we do for the community. So we're going to talk about that, how we can do that both locally and internationally. We're going to talk about the PSF, the Python Software Foundation, which is one of the ways to cooperating internationally within the Python community. We'll be talking about the PSF working groups, which are these open doors for this kind of contribution. We're going to also talk, can I only contribute in English? So I know we were talking about international cooperation, and we know that English is lingua franca, but do we have any other options? And I would love to share with you a success story that we have from international cooperation here in Brazil. And what can I do? So let's start with contributing to the community. How can I contribute to the community? So this is PyCon Australia 2023. It's my first Python event. I'm really willing to help. What can I do? So one of the things that we can do is participating and moderating forums, groups, and mailing lists. There are many ways to make these contributions to the community, to serve the community. And one of them is this. But we have, for example, the Discord that PyCon Australia is running now. We have the system that the streaming's been happening. So there is a lot of backstage work that is done. And participating and moderating these platforms, this is one way to contribute to the community. So community work is not just about being on stage. There are many other things that we can do that people don't actually get to see, but they are as much important as the other things that we actually see. Another way that you can contribute to your community locally is running sprints. So in sprints, you can contribute to open source projects. And in many Python events around the world, we have sprint days. So working in this more of a technical sense, like writing code, doing translation, correcting patches within the context of using actually a versioning tool and all. This is also contributing. So going more on this technical level per se. Another thing that you can do to contribute to your community is giving talks. So this is more of a visible work because you actually get to go up the stage and people get to see you. But I would like to reiterate that this is just another way. It's one more way to contribute it. Here I have some pictures of mine doing some talks in different events at PyCon. This one here, this first one it was my first Python talk ever in the first PyLadies event here in Brazil. Well, I have very fond memories of this talk. So this is something you can do. Share your knowledge with people who are interested to hear about it. You can also teach. So when we're giving a talk, we can see that some people, they are more in a passive position, in the sense that they're listening to you, they're paying attention to you. There is time for asking questions. But and I'm a teacher, so this has a very fun place in my heart. In teaching, we can be more active. We can talk to the person, be right next to them, and know what the person needs, what doubts does this person have. So when you're giving a short introduction course to Python, or maybe a Django Girls tutorial, which is a one-day tutorial to learn how to develop an application with Django, you do that in an active way with the person, giving the person attention, worrying about whether they really understand you or not. So you develop a very close relationship. So teaching is a very important way that you can contribute to the community. Another way that you can do that is by organizing local Python user groups meetups. And well, I don't know about you, but I've been helping running those meetups and also participating. And sometimes it gets really tiring because there is always a lot of work to do. So you need to create the event on Meetup. You should seek for sponsorship for the coffee break, find a venue, talk, for example, to an university professor or someone from a company to find a room to have the event happening so you don't have to pay for the venue. So all this work, all this backstage work is so valuable. And this is the kind of work where you root the community work, where the community work can find its roots. So I'm also really fond of this manner of contributing to the community. And well, once you've done that, you've helped organizing local meetups, you can start organizing bigger Python events. So depending on where you live, and I'm saying this because I live in Brazil, which is a continental country, here we have some regional events. So you can whether have events in your state, in your region, even in your country, you can help to organize those kind of things. So I've talked about participating in forums, running sprints, giving talks, organizing local events. But when you organize regional and national events, you are bringing your help to a larger scale. And that requires much more time and effort, because usually this type of event, they would gather hundreds of people, like PyCon Australia itself. So all the people who are behind the scenes, the MCs, everybody who's running the conference program, the chairs, there is a lot of time and effort that you only obtain once you start doing it. And that's really great that people are doing this in they're volunteering their time. So we can start doing things more on the backstage, and then you share your knowledge with the talk, and then you get to this point where you want to make other things start to happen. So you will start putting yourself out there and organizing this event. Here, all of these pictures are from events that I have participated. So here, for example, we have the picture of the first PyLadies conference in Brazil. We had the national gathering. I was the chair of this event, but I had many other people helping me organize a national PyLadies event. So it's a work that we do with many, many hands, and all help that we can get is needed. Whether you are the chair of the conference, or if you're a staff, or if you're going to help as an MC, or if you're going to help with the credentials for the speakers and for the attendees of the conference, all this help is precious. But I've been talking to you a little bit about my experience and the work that I've been doing in the Python community for this past almost 10 years. But I didn't want it to just talk about my experience and just have my words. So all of this is based on my experience in this journey in the Python community. And I think we can only talk about the things that we live. But I wanted to bring other people's words. So I went to do some research on Twitter and I asked them, what is it for you contributing to the community? And these were some of the responses that I got. So donating your time for the growth of other people, giving them support and space. Connecting, Isadora Morena said, connecting to people, supporting projects, and guaranteeing accessibility for all people. Felipe said, helping people around you in the way that you can. And doing that the way that you can, that's possible for you, is super important, because we shouldn't have people helping in the community burning out. So that's why having each person doing your thing is so important. And here we have Italo's words, and he says that contributing to the community is donating your time to a cause that is directed to people. And this is very important because I know we are all gathered here today because of a programming language. But we usually stay, as Brad Cannon says, for the community. And here in Brazil, we have a motto of the Brazilian Python community, which is people bigger than technology. And we really live for that. If not for the people, there wouldn't be any technology. We have the technology. It makes us be together, but our stories start making ourselves bond. And we have that with the community. And just a quick personal note is that being able to contribute to the community in any other ways that I mentioned is a privilege. And we need to acknowledge that we are in a position of great privilege. Everyone knows what they had to give up to be here, to be in Adelaide, to be in Australia. I'm here in Brazil. It's 11 p.m. on a Friday night. So we all know what we needed to let go to be here. But if we do have this possibility to be here, to attend this event, that is a big privilege. Because if we can choose to be here, if I'm right here, right now, talking to you, not having to work to guarantee that I have food on my plate, then it's a privilege that I have. It's important to mention that. And well, all the ways that I mentioned before, they are ways to contribute to the community locally. And I am a big believer that we start growing our community and start growing our contribution to the community once we start doing things locally. But the main goal of this talk is to tell you ways that you can put your work, your contribution in a larger scale. So one of the ways to do that is through the PSF groups. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about the PSF, the Python Software Foundation. And the PSF is a nonprofit membership organization which is dedicated to advancing the open source technology, which is Python, and it owns the intellectual property rights that are related to the Python programming language. And when I mention intellectual property, what am I talking about? So the rights to the core code of Python. So this is something that this entity, the Python Software Foundation, takes care of and do all the work behind. Sometimes we download Python to our machines, we download the package, we start using a framework, and we have no idea what's behind all that. So the PSF is the main entity behind all Python related things. And the mission of the Python Software Foundation is to promote, protect, and advance the Python programming language and support and facilitate the growth of a diverse and international community of Python programmers. And how does the PSF want to do that? And there are three main steps. So we have infrastructure, community, and investing in Python and tools. So when we talk about infrastructure, what the PSF does is that the PSF distributes Python and makes sure it is free or of charge and available to all, forever. The PSF are the stewards of Python intellectual property, as I mentioned earlier. So the PSF established the licenses, holds intellectual property to most Python releases and protect Python-related trademarks. The PSF also put resources behind to coordinate the improvements to the Python code base and new Python releases. When it comes to community, the PSF hosts PyCon US, which is the longest running annual event for celebrating, learning about, and coming together around Python. This year, we had the 20th PyCon US happening in Salt Lake City, Utah. The PSF also gives grants to groups around the world who host events for and by Pythonistas and supporting each other and welcoming newcomers. In 2021, the PSF awarded $117,000 for over 129 grants to recipients in 41 different countries. So that is a lot. So the PSF is financially making sure that these conferences, these meetups, they happen. They are also responsible for establishing, maintaining, and enforcing the Python Code of Conduct, which everyone here had to agree upon. So we have a work towards a Python community that is a safe and welcoming space for all. The PSF also provides and supports resources to attract new Python users and to keep the community growing, diverse, and healthy. And when it comes to Python tools, the PSF hosts PyPI, which is the Python package repository that is relied on by thousands of users with a huge range of Python projects. And who are the people responsible for the PSF? So the PSF is managed by a paid staff, a board of directors, which I'm part of, and volunteers. The board of directors was created to monitor and supervise the operation and the administration of the Python Software Foundation. This board is made up of 11 elected members of the Python community, and we meet monthly to set the general direction of the PSF. And, well, you should become a member of the PSF yourself. And there are different membership types that you can join. The first one is you can be a basic member. You can register yourself as a basic member. It's free of charge. You simply declare that you are part of the Python community and agree to the community code of conduct. And this is good because it gives us an idea, for example, of how many Pythonistas we have in each country. So if you scan this QR code, you can sign up as a basic member. But we have other types of memberships. We have the supporting members, which are people who make an annual donation of at least $25 to the PSF. Well, the $25 is a sliding scale, but you can also donate more. And this money goes to support the foundation and also the Python community. And with this QR code, you can be a supporting member. Oh, and I forgot to mention that supporting members, they can vote on the PSF Board of Directors election. The basic membership doesn't make you eligible for voting. We also have the managing members. So these are members who decide to dedicate at least 5 hours a month working to support the Python ecosystem. So organizing Python events and meetups, contributing to PSF projects, looking after infrastructure, participating in one of the PSF working groups that makes you eligible to vote. If you contribute at least 5 hours a month working on projects to further the PSF mission technically, let's say creating or maintaining open source software that is publicly available with Python, you can be a contributing member, and that is also eligible for voting. Finally, we have the fellow members, who are individuals who have been nominated for their extraordinary efforts and impact on Python. They are also eligible for voting in the Board of Directors election, and reading this QR code, you can nominate someone as a fellow member of the PSF. Wow, that's a lot of information. Well, and now a way for you to start contributing internationally is participating in one of the PSF work groups. Well, here we have some of the Python Software Foundation work groups, and some of them are active and some of them are not active anymore. You can find the whole list in this link that I have below. And we have now working the Code of Conduct work group, the Diversity and Inclusion work group, the Grants, Infrastructure, Marketing, the Packaging work group, that goes with PyPI, the Scientific Python work group, and the Tradesmark work group. The DNI work group is one of the work groups that I am part of, and I'm really glad to talk about it today for you, because it is the newest PSF work group, and we have the purpose of working to further the PSF mission. And how do we do that? We have people from all continents in this work group, people with different visions and of what diversity looks like. And we are able to understand local communities, but also in a global scope. So we do recruitment of globally representative members for our group. We discuss policies, initiatives, and grants proposals together with the PSF board. And then we communicate and gather feedback from the Python community to understand how the PSF can better serve and increase diversity in the community. And if you'd like to contribute with us, this QR code points to the Diversity and Inclusion's Awareness Form, which contains a series of questions to understand the needs and community vision of different people from different countries. It is not mandatory to collect your name or email address. You can reply to us and help us to understand the face of your local community and how diversity and inclusion makes sense for your local community. And then we have this question: can I contribute internationally only in English? There are other ways to do that. Well, I don't know if you speak any other languages, but one of the coolest ways that I found in my journey in the Python community to contribute beyond English is the Python en Español project, which is Python in Spanish, let's say, a project that was led to some people from Latin America. And this group specifically made a historic contribution when they got together and managed to translate all Python documentation into Spanish in a very short span of time. And isn't that what I said that was contributing to the community? Sharing a vision of what is good and what we want for the community. So, well, we have the Python en Español Discord server. I'll just walk you through. This is kind of a screenshot video from my cell phone. And here you have like meetups, conferences, events, community events, present yourself, code of conduct, many chats, many channels that people can start communicating in Spanish. And people who manage this server, they are extremely friendly. So if you're learning Spanish and would like to join this Discord server, you have Python in common with all people in the server, which is great. And a success story before I close my presentation. So, I am on the board now. I get to work in an international manner. If you are part of a PSF work group, you can also do that. But I want to tell you another story. Here in Brazil, we've been having 18 national conferences, Python Brazil. And we were having very large conferences. In 2019, we managed to have almost 1,000 people in our national gathering. But then with the pandemic, Python Brazil 2020 took place online. So we were all missing face-to-face events. And then the community in Brazil decided that they were going to host this event online. And how is an event this big organized? This one was even bigger than the editions that we had in person. And this photo was generated with the pictures from people who were in our Discord server. And then in 2020, we had a woman called Camila Maia, and she was part of the EuroPython organization in 2020. She is Brazilian. She lives in Europe now. And she was helping in the organization of EuroPython. And then she started to brainstorm these ideas to the Brazilian Python community so we could actually manage to have this big event happening online. So together with the Brazilian Python community, we gave our features, what Python Brazil looks like, and we managed to do that online. And it was the greatest Python Brazil in history. I believe we had over 2,000 people participating in the conference. And this is a huge step because it only happens because of an international cooperation within the community. It happened in Europe and then it was brought to us in Brazil. And then we started to add things, change things, adapt them, and give our characteristics to it. And well, after all that was said and done to you today, what now? What do you have for me now, Débora? Well, that's totally up to you. Now, if you were not sure about how to do that, if you didn't know before, how can I help? What can I do? Now you have a huge list of things that you could do to start contributing to your community. I will always suggest that you start helping locally in the community, and then you start getting stronger with your skills both technical and other type of skills that you need to have to help the Python community. Now, you know things you can do, and if you need help sorting things out, please do reach out. I'll be glad to help. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if you have time for any questions. You can find me on Twitter. This is my website. You can email me as well. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Deborah. Let's everyone please give Deborah